What's up, guys? So today I have a quiz, an anatomy quiz on the nervous system. So we're learning about nerves and the flow of nervous impulses. I'm going to be showing you guys a bit of how I plan on studying for that. So that quiz is in a couple minutes, but I did some studying prior and some reading before making this video, and I want to show you guys what I've come up with so far. So my professor would give handouts to the class like this, and we would study them. And what I did was that me and my friend, we kind of typed each important point, and then we searched in the book for important info that relates to that, such as general functions of the nervous system, the flow of information, and the anatomical/functional division of neurons. We just started on this chapter, so we don't really need to know too much. And here's a flowchart that we're going to be quizzed on today. It's not too difficult when you actually look at it for a while. So these are some of the receptors in your body that sense a stimulus or a signal to react in a certain way, and that sensory information is sent up to using the your afferent division, and it sends that information from your peripheral nervous system, everything, these nerves are on your body, to your central nervous system. In other words, your brain and your spinal cord receives that information. And then there's some information processing that goes on. In terms of negative feedback loop, this would be the receptors, this would be the control center getting that information. So after the brain gets that information, it sends it using the efferent division for motor commands, or it's called motor commands because it's sent to things like muscles and glands to promote an effect or to do more action. Okay, so once it does this action, it's sent to the muscles. So the muscles are, so we discussed this is a receptor, this is a control center, and this is the effectors, the things that are actually doing the commands sent from the brain or the higher control centers. So from the efferent division, it's sent to two nervous systems. So the somatic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. The somatic nervous system, it can be voluntary or involuntary. If it's voluntary, it's either way, the somatic nervous system activates skeletal muscles to produce a type of action. The response of the somatic nervous system can be either voluntary or involuntary, so your brain can tell that body part to do this action, or it can be involuntary. And if it's involuntary, it means it's it's considered a reflex, something that's automatic. And then the other systems is the autonomic nervous system. So the autonomic nervous system is divided into two divisions: the sympathetic and parasympathetic division. So sympathetic activates things such as your smooth muscles, cardiac muscles, and your glands and adipose tissue. Parasympathetic is more on the adipose tissue area of this. So that's the figure I had to study for this quiz that I just explained. Okay, now the other thing I want to talk about is some of the notes that I took in class. So an important thing to always do is look over the notes you took in the previous lecture. So last week we took these notes. I took a bit of a recording right after our exam, so not too much information this time compared to my other videos, because we had just previously taken an exam, so not much information needed to be covered. Okay. So we talked about the nervous system, and the nervous system is a connection to other systems in the body. It's connections with the urinary, blood vessels, heart, digestive system, and muscle connections, all connected to the nervous system. So we have a quiz on this information today, actually, a couple of minutes. So some of the things our professor told us we needed to know, which is important to always take note of if your professor ever says, oh, you need to know this, then probably need to take notes on those. So we need to know the receptors, as I went through with you guys in that figure I just discussed. The receptors, the controllers, and the effectors. The controllers would be your brain and your spinal cord. So it's the information processing center of your nervous system. And the effectors, your skeletal muscles and your skeletal muscles, smooth muscles, glands, and your adipose tissue. So this is this is similar to a negative feedback triangle or a loop. So it's sensory or receptor apparatus. So for receptors, there's 3 possible categories for receptors. There's a special sensory receptor, which is for auditory, visual, gustatory, olfactory, and the 5th receptor is in your inner ear for balance and equilibrium. So special sensory receptors monitor smell, taste, vision, balance, and hearing. Sweeping through cranial nerves that takes information to the right part of the brain. Somatic sensory receptors are also called general sensory receptors. They are located all over your body. They monitor the amount of stretch of each of your skeletal muscles at the moment. The brain is aware of the position of every skeletal muscle in your body and every joint in your body at all times. It monitors also the skin surface. The skin surface has tactile, pressure, temperature, and pain receptors. Visceral sensory receptors are on your viscera or your smooth muscles, are on your viscera or the organs. Located in the viscera are all those smooth muscles surrounding your organs. Oh, so it's the smooth muscles on your organs. Surrounding your organs, blood vessels, and glands. Glands are told by the nervous system when to secrete and when not to secrete. Continuing on into the peripheral nervous system. We are not yet in the central nervous system still. Okay, so information is traveling within the afferent meaning ingoing into the CNS or into the central nervous system. Efferent means outgoing, so things that are leaving the central nervous system and going to effectors or muscles and glands. So the central nervous system is anatomically this nervous system is divided into 2 sections: your brain and your spinal cord. Anything outside the spinal cord of the brain is part of the peripheral nervous system. Part of the peripheral nervous system. Information movement. So the nervous system to central processing plant can be part of conscious. Sorry, I'm starting to get a cold. Can be part of your conscious and unconscious brain, or your medulla, or parts of the subconscious brain. Reflexes. Information can go from the central nervous system, but doesn't go all the way to the brain, only going to the spinal cord. This is called reflexes. Afferent. The difference between afferent and efferent division. So, afferent is sensory information ingoing. Sensory is interchangeable with the word afferent. Efferent is more motor, outgoing. Motor is interchangeable with the word efferent. Efferent division, or the outgoing division, travels from the central nervous system to the periphery to the effectors. Travels using 2 different by periphery they mean the different types of nervous systems, so autonomic or somatic nervous system. Just going to write that down and take note what the periphery is. So from the periphery to the effectors. The autonomic nervous system is there's two divisions for the autonomic nervous system. The somatic nervous system speaks to skeletal muscles, joints, etc. The autonomic nervous system speaks to the viscera. It works through two different divisions, the parasympathetic and sympathetic division, in order to talk to smooth muscles, cardiac muscles, glands, and adipose tissue. Adipose tissue was newly added. So we have this flowchart, and there at the end of the cycle, once we reached the effectors, my professor drew a dotted line that was placed between the effectors and receptors. This is because the receptors are constantly receiving new information. I'll show you guys the arrow. So these are the effectors, and my professor drew this arrow leading back to the receptors. So from effectors to receptors. And this is because the receptors are constantly receiving new versions of information based on what the effectors have changed. Such as, so if you push a box, and you wanted to push it some more, you're not going to push the box in the same way. You probably move your hand a bit closer to the box and push it again. So it shows that our response is always changing. Our receptors are always picking up new information based on what our effectors have changed already. So the dotted line is placed between effectors and receptors is because the receptors are constantly receiving new versions of information based on what the effectors have changed. The effectors are responding to commands that are changing the situation in some way, and the receptors get that new information. And that's it, guys. I'm going to be doing some small amounts of reading of the book before I take my quiz in about 10 minutes. Let's hope it goes well, and I'll see you guys in the next video.